morning, and welcome to CSL Denver, a place, a space, and a face of love, a spiritual community teaching ancient wisdom and utilizing universal principles to empower our lives and the lives of others. So, I want to thank everybody for being here on this 4th of July, this Independence, this Freedom Weekend. And as everyone is celebrating, I think the talk for today and the theme for this month is right in line with Independence or Freedom Day, if you will. And the theme for the month is speaking truth to power. Speaking truth to power. And today we are going to explore this whole idea of reclaiming our disowned selves. Now, what can be more freedom than that? By reclaiming the disowned selves. Now, the whole idea of power, when you hear the word power, it triggers all kinds of emotions, all kinds of ideas about what it is. And I'm here to tell you that power is more than you think it is. And truth is more than you think it is. So when you get ready to reclaim it, I want to advise you, you need to anchor down. You need to get centered. Because it's not this whole idea of what has now, I believe, come to be power, or what the image of power is that is the ability to control and manipulate things, resources, people. Pick one. If I have a lot of money, it's assumed that I have control and that I am powerful. If I'm running a big company with a lot of people, it's assumed that I have power. But we understand that that's not quite the case. And when we look at our society, where we are taught to be splintered and to not be our true selves and to fit into images, there's no wonder the whole world is not disowned or splintered or unable to stand in freedom of who and what they are. Because I want to read this. We have created a disposable, ego-driven, me-first world and spirituality. Being popular is more important than being in touch with the divine. Being accepted is more important than being in touch with the God within you. I'll show up most inauthentic, most mask on, just not to be judged. Because we've allowed ourselves to be put in a position, to be put in a place where we allow other people to define who we should be. And now when we look at the I don't know, pop culture, the TikTok and Instagram and chat and me chat and you chat and everybody's chatting, but ain't nobody talking to the God within. We're talking to all these other things and we're letting them define who we are and what we are. And freedom is the last thing that we have. The last thing that we have. We're controlled by this or that. But when we can reclaim our disowned selves, because the reason that happens is the part of me that gets upset, we disown that because people don't know how to deal with complaints or criticisms. We've lost that ability. So we disown that part of ourselves. We don't know how to stand up and say no. So we've disowned that part of ourselves. And if you take step-by-step look at your life, you will discover that ain't much left for you. Yeah, there's not much left. because we've disowned it all and we've put on this persona. We've put on this mask of what I call toxic positivity. Toxic positivity, where we have to be in this, divine awe moment every second of the day. And we know deep down inside that that's not even possible. It's not even possible. Yet we spend our day, our week, and some of us a whole lifetime trying to manufacture that. We get into this situation where, if you're not affirmed, and trust me, I use affirmations, but I don't need one every day to reaffirm who I am. I need an affirmation maybe when I'm in a low place or when I can't see my way clearly. I can affirm and reclaim all of myself to say, deep within me, I know God is there. I know the voice is there. So why don't I just affirm that, even though the situation may call or may seem to call for something totally different? So listen to this. Reclaiming these disowned parts that creates and foster wholeness. This is what it proclaims. Reclaiming the disowned self refers to the process of recognizing and embracing parts of our identity that we have suppressed, denied, or rejected. It involves acknowledging and integrating those aspects to ourselves to promote self-awareness, self-growth. And now, how do these splintered parts happen? Well, happened when you was a baby, started. So it's been with you for a long time. You've had your big brother said, you little, I don't need you hanging around with me. And so now you got a complex. I can't hang anybody, older than me or bigger than me. I got to disown that. Or mama said, stop messing up whatever you're doing, right? And so now I'm scared to do anything. I won't touch anything because I hear mama's voice in the back saying, stop touching everything. And eventually, we lose touch with who we are, who we really are. And in this cauldron, if you will, of confusion, all of our good stuff, the good stuff that God has placed in us, we just, the old saying, we throw it out with the bathwater. We just threw the baby out with the bathwater, and we have no idea of who we are. Now, for those of us who are familiar with Carl Jung and his whole process of life, I'm not even going to try to break him down because he deep, as they say. Ooh, he deep. Because there is so much about the human life, and one of his major things was we have to become self-realized or self-actualized, and there's a slight difference between the two. Self-actualization is more of a Maslow's thing, and self-realization is really, although Jung uses actually, he's more of a self-realization, meaning to realize the power, the presence of God that's in. Whereas in Maslow's actualization, we're trying to reach a goal. We're trying to be, at the top of the pinnacle. But what we really want to do, and which is at the heart of Jung's teachings, that is to come together in unity within ourselves, the unconscious and the conscious, right? That supreme dichotomy. And the ego, although we've allowed it to get out of control, it is a necessary part of who we are. You cannot, if you get away from being an ego or having an ego, I might as well just call you a jellyfish. You just in the ocean of life, allowing the tides and the waves to just call you and move you around. And any way it seems wishing, hoping to do. That's not life. And that's, well, I'll take that back. That is a disowned life. We want to be a fish in the water. We want to have some idea of who we are so we can perform at that level. So when we begin this idea of reclaiming all these parts we just talked about, we have to first, and this might be hard, you got to acknowledge that you've given away your good stuff. To be, no matter how good you think you are right now, I would submit to you that you've given away your good stuff. Now, why do you say that? Because most of us, self-included, I am acting and responding and moving in a way to be accepted. To be accepted, to be liked, not to be criticized, not to be judged. And I don't care how many affirmations or how positive I act or any of that, there are moments when I actually know that I'm disowned. I know it when I feel inadequate. I know it when I feel fear. I know it when I go out of my way to get somebody to like me and they still don't like me. Because we disowned our wholeness. And so when we get back to Jung and he talks about the self, in the center, a part of us is this self. And then we have these archetypal parts that also represent the different personalities we have. But it is the unification of all of that. There was a teaching by Hal and Sidra Stone called Voice Dialogue. And that teaching talked about being the conductor of your life, and that you had these various parts of yourself, some owned, some disowned. And as the conductor, as the real self, you conducted and you called in the bad boy or the bad girl when the bad boy or bad girl was needed. Because sometimes it's needed. Sometimes you need to tell people, hey, you need to back up, dude. You call in the fun-loving, adventure-seeking part of yourself when you want to expand, when you want to grow, when you really want to get in touch with the wholeness of yourself. Because now we finna step outside the limits. We finna go beyond the bounds of what we think we are or who we thought we were before we went on this adventure. And so when we begin to do that, we really need to find a way to say yes to life. We really need to find a way to say yes to life. And so to do that, the first thing that we have to do is this self-awareness process. Self-awareness process. You have to ask yourself, what is it that I believe? What do I value? And this slide that we have up by Max Planck speaks directly to that. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. So that means you got, what do I believe? What are my values? And then once you've done that, and boy, that could be hard, right? That requires a little bit of surrender. That requires a little bit of being nothing, really. You have to look at yourself in a nothingness state so that you can be open to infinite possibilities. Because as long as I stay stuck in the ego, no matter how many questions I ask, no matter how inquisitive I may seem, it's still coming from the ego, because that's why we have these things called mindfulness and meditation. It's a way of trying to not get rid of the ego, but to just quiet it down for a few so I can see things clearly. They had that song, I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. That's what we're trying to do. See clearly. And so when we do that, we begin to see our values. We see what we believe. And then comes the hard part. There's a hard part. You got to walk that walk. Are you walking and talking and living in a way that equals or matches or congruent with your beliefs and values. If you're doing that, then you're well on your way to getting them disowned parts back together. You know, how many times, you know, especially in the rock and roll business, how many times you've seen that sign or that commercial come up, hey, we're getting the band back together. Right? That's what we got to do when we want to get these disowned pieces. We got to get the band back together. We got to bring all the pieces. As Howland Sidra said, we got to become the conductor of this life that we have, that we've been blessed with. Now, the second thing we have to do is compassion. We have to have compassion. We didn't want to be disowned. We didn't want to be splintered. So there's no need of judging ourselves. There's no need of condemning ourselves. Let's have compassion. Let's have compassion. Because as this slide says, intuitively we sense that every man and every woman in his native state is some part or manifestation of this eternal principle of oneness, is the principle there. And that the entire problem of limitation and evil and suffering and uncertainty is the results of ignorance. It's the results of ignorance. Because people, let me tell you, there will never be a time, and people, if anyone tells you different, I bet them dollars to donuts, that you are going to experience one of these things. One day you will be sad. One day you will label something as evil, which means something that really doesn't sit right with you. It ain't really evil in the sense of the movies and everything, but it's an idea that something has happened in your life that does not sit well with you. Now, if you don't think that's true, I got a bridge I want to sell you. I got a bridge. Matter of fact, I got 2-3 bridges I want to sell you. And so we're saying that to say what? That you have to be compassionate. There's nothing wrong with these things. This is real life. This is what happens when you surrender. Because in the beginning, we remember, I don't care what tradition, it says God created however you want to frame it. And at the end of it, inevitably, she said, it's good. So the creator of all the things that we see, know, hear, touch, become is good. Why do we call it bad? Why do we label it inadequate? So be compassionate with yourself. That's because we've disowned that part of ourselves that knows the truth. That divine part of ourselves that says, you are a child of the divine energetic force that not only created this world, that created all worlds. All worlds, the world of the ant, the world of the farthest most cosmos. So have compassion. Have compassion. And the last one is Michael Jackson. No, not Michael Jackson. But Michael Jackson had it right. He said, have a look at the man in the mirror. This next one is, are you doing your mirror work? Are you doing your mirror work? Because here is what it says. It says the mirror, this slide right here is pointing. The mirror reflects back to you the feelings you have about yourself. It makes you immediately aware of where you are resisting and where you are open and flowing. It clearly shows you what thoughts you will need to change if you want to have a joyous, fulfilling life. Now that means, ooh, you got to get in your birthday suit now. You can't just stand in the front of the mirror with your suit on and your good tie and your good dress. You got to get in your birthday suit. So you see all the blemishes. So you see all the other times on the cuts and the nicks where you disown yourself and you got yourself in a situation that you couldn't get out of. Do the mirror. If you do the mirror work, if you do the mirror work, you begin to see that these disowned, so to speak, parts of ourselves are necessary parts of ourselves. It's something that we must have, that we must do. Because I'm here to tell you, you do not want to get to the end of the journey, whether that's the journey on a vacation or the journey of your life, and realize that you've missed all the important parts. Because the part that was needed to really enjoy that, you disowned it. You set it aside. You criticized it. And God forbid you were afraid of it. How many are afraid to be the God-given identity that we've been born with? I'm going to raise my hand sometime, because I'll tell you, sometimes I'm scared. But we have to step into it. We have to create the wholeness. We have to create the unity of ourselves. And when that happens, we begin to see life differently. We begin to act differently. We begin to see clearly now, because the rain has gone away. That's our charge. That's what we're here for. That's why we're here. And when you can do that consistently, that means I got to talk my talk and walk my walk. I got to get out of this me idea of life, this me idea of spirituality. The universe don't really care about me. I mean, it does. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not getting fatalistic, but God said, I'm going to give you a job to do. And I'm going to give you everything you need to do it with. And I'm going to give you ample time to figure it out and learn how to do it. Then he comes with the big however. If you fail in your job, I'm just going to get somebody else to do it. I'm patient. I am compassion. I am love. But I got a limit. You know, I own all my stuff. God said, I got every piece intact. And if you get too far out of line, if you get too unsure of yourself, if you get too disorganized, too disenfranchised, I'm going to bless you and send you on your way. Now, that may sound bad, but that's the real truth right there. Somebody else will come and take your place. The stuff that Edison did, anybody could have did it, so to speak. And there were a bunch of people who tried. But he grabbed the hold of something that made him whole to do it. And so if we want to embark on this journey, here's the call to action for this week. Two things. Not too much. Not too much. The first one is we have to meditate and journal about this disowned part of ourselves. And now don't just say you're going to do it. Really do it. Myself included, because I can easily get busy and don't do it. And it don't take a long time. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Flow of consciousness. Don't try to, like me, try to correct the grammar and the spelling and all of that stuff while you're trying to have a flow of consciousness. Just write. You can go back and do all that. Microsoft will take care of all that. Just type it in there and Microsoft will do it. But what you concentrating on is getting the ego out the way, getting in touch with the values and beliefs and ones you are incongruent with and ones you are congruent with. And then just figure out what you're missing, what you're letting go. Because that way you will begin to see differently. You will begin to realize the power, speaking power to truth, you'll begin to realize that. And given what we've had this week in terms of legislative stuff that's going on, boy, we need some real, I'm going to stop. We need some things. How about that? How about we just leave it? We need some things to really get settled in this life of ours. Now, once you've done that, Find one thing that's come up and begin to come up with a plan, and not just a plan, but some steps to reclaim that disowned part of yourself. You ain't got to tell nobody. God already knows. That's the only person that counts. That's the only one that counts. But we have to begin to have this kind of approach to life, because if we don't, we will get to the end of our lives and cry. Not a cry of joy, but a cry of disappointment. And so as I conclude and wrap up, I want to give you this quote or poem, or it's part of it, by John of the Cross. John of the Cross said this: to come to enjoy what you have not, or what you have not enjoyed, you must go by a way in which you enjoy not. To come to the knowledge you have not, you must go by a way in which you know not. To come to what you, to come to what be, I messed that up. To come to be what you are not, you must go by a way in which you are not. So in essence, as they say, you got to become the journeyman on the path less traveled. One of my favorite quotes, and anytime you see a bio, it will say, don't go where the path may lead, go where there's no path and leave a trail. That's how you begin to get them disowned parts. And so as we begin to do that this week, this day, we want to have this affirmation, and this is not positive toxic. This is a real affirmation that says, I will accept who I am today and be okay with what makes me different. I will accept who I am today and be okay with what makes me different. And so when we can do that, we can step into the fullness of life. We can regroup and regather those disowned parts, and then we can hit the road, because we got the band back together again. Let us pray. So as we take this moment of silent reflection and contemplation, this time where we recognize the power, the presence, the intelligence, and the force in the universe, the real power that controls and upholds and sustains all things. That presence that allows each and every one of us to have movement, to have life, to have joy, to have all these things that we know is a direct reflection of the divine. And so I know right here, right now, for myself and for everyone here and anyone online that may hear this later, or that's online right now, that we are awakening to the lifelong journey of infinite possibility, of reuniting ourselves, of coming to a point to where not only are we transformed, but we transcend all of the limitations, all of the doubts, all of the things and traumas that have kept us from truly being able to say, I am a divine representative of God on earth. Where we're clear about our mission, where we know what we know, and we speak that truth to power. Not being afraid, not sacrificing, or any of those things that will allow us to be magnificent. And so I declare right here, right now, because of all of that, that today we will step forward in a new way of living. Today we will move forward in a way that allows us to say yes to all aspects of our lives. Just like riding on a roller coaster. You can't go down the hill unless you go up the hill. So we accept the ups and the downs of life, the twist, the turn. And we hold our hands up high to recognize and declare the life, the love that is God. Unified, whole, one. And we do so in freedom. And so I give thanks for this opportunity for each and every one of us to come back to our true self, to reunite the band, to get back together, to be a force in the world to be reckoned with. And so with that, I just release, I let go. I know that this is so because there's a law that's making it be what it be. And so with that, we say, and so it is. Amen, amen, and amen.